There we go.
I would like to introduce you, Ashley, to our audience of retired teachers. This young lady is Ashley Speidel, one of the best teachers I know, and I say that sincerely because I've observed her classroom. I will also add that Ashley was in my third grade at Trajan School a few years ago, so it's so rewarding to see one of my former students in the classroom. So we're going to ask Ashley some questions about how COVID and the pandemic has affected her job. So Ash, that's wide open. You start.
Well, it's so nice to see everybody. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of talking with Mrs. Lee and sharing my experiences over the last 11 months. So I'm ready to dig right in.
Okay. Well, I know that hopefully you will actually be back in class next Monday. We'll keep our fingers crossed. But before we go there, let's go back to when COVID started, how you got the word, because you have baby first graders,
Yeah.
and how it affected them and you in the very beginning.
Well, I'll never forget it. It was Friday, March 13th, and so it was probably the worst Friday the 13th you could imagine. And my mom was volunteering in my classroom that day, and right before dismissal, we got an announcement that basically said, send home just different pamphlets and activities for the kids. And so we did that. And then we were also informed to not alarm them, don't say anything, because we don't want to scare them. And so I sent home some extra additional activities, and I didn't realize that was going to be the last time that I got to hug my kiddos for that year, and the last time I would get to see my kids that year as well. And so then we had a meeting after school where our principal informed us that we would be off for an extended amount of time. We didn't know exactly how long, and in my brain at the time I thought, oh, we'll be off for a week, they'll clean the school, we'll be right back in it. And then that quickly turned into the rest of the school year. And I think it was obviously really hard as an educator because you work so hard to build a community with your kids, and you work so hard to build connections with your kids, and then it's just kind of having to pivot and figure out, okay, how can I still teach my kids, my first graders, 6 and 7-year-olds, on a computer screen and make it engaging and make it fun and make sure that they're still forming those connections with myself, with each other. And so it's just been a process.
And a challenge,
and
I'm
a
sure.
challenge. Yes, and a challenge for myself, for my kiddos, and for the parents.
Oh, let's talk about the parents a minute, Ash, because as an educator, of course, I feel for all of you in the trenches who, yeah, you're good at technology, but okay, teach these kids the rest of the year on a screen. That had to be a challenge for you. But what about the parents, and how has the parent end of it gone?
I have been blown away by my parents and how hard they're working to ensure that their kiddos are coming to Zoom every day and getting the seesaw assignments done and making sure that, having open communication with me when there are tech issues, when there are things happening. And so I have said it last year with my parents last year, kind of being thrown into, online distance learning, and then my parents this year too, where we're always a team. No matter what year it is, we're working together to try and do what's best for their kids. But I've just been blown away with the patience that they've had and the support that they've given, and we've never had to work this closely with each other. And so to me, that's also such a plus that has come out of this, because we've never had to co-teach in the way that we've had to co-teach this year.
Yes.
And so that parent community and building that parent community, I think, is always so important. But I think this year especially, it's just gone to a different, deeper level, which only benefits the kids. So.
Oh, that's so very important. Yes. Ashley, how many first grades, in normal size first grades, do you have here?
So at school we have 4 first grades. So it's myself and then 3 other first grade teachers, and that's been a real blessing too, because just like in any year, you get to bounce ideas off of each other. What's working for your class? How is attendance on your Zooms? What are you doing to try and engage more kiddos? So they've been a huge asset, every year, but this year especially too.
I'll bet. And one thing I forgot to do when I introduced you is to mention that we are at Greer Elementary School in San Juan, and you can see what a lovely classroom this is. And Ashley, tell us a little bit about what you went to have this lovely classroom.
Well, thank you. Obviously, the most important thing for me is making it an engaging space for our kiddos, making sure that there's areas for small group instruction, areas for them to work independently. Obviously, that's going to look a little bit different now with COVID, but I am so excited to get our kiddos back into this classroom. We have not had kids in class for over a year, so it's time. I'm excited. I'm anxious. It's kind of like the first day of school where you're a little nervous. School's going to look a lot different. And, I think I've been processing a lot over the last year of did I make the right choice becoming a teacher? It's really hard right now. But, those reasons of why you wanted to teach, to help shape and mold and educate future of America, and making sure that our kiddos are prepared academically and socially and emotionally, that hasn't changed. And so, the goals are still there. It's just going to look a little different moving forward. But that passion and that drive of wanting to help students in the best way possible is still there.
Wouldn't it be nice if every classroom had an Ashley as your teacher? Ash, your warmth and your love. And you can tell she's a hugger. She just loves those little babes. I felt so lucky to be able to observe you for real. I think it might have been your first year of teaching.
Yes.
That I was in your classroom.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully, and we know that some things have to happen in our favor, for you to have your kids back in the classroom this coming Monday, which is March 22nd. So if that happens, and I know San Juan has been doing, all schools of course have been, but planning behind the scenes, all the new money that has come from Governor Newsom and all of that. So what are you hearing from your principal, and what guidelines have you been given up to this point?
So we obviously, when we come back to school, we're going to have 3 different cohorts. So we'll have an A cohort, and they'll come on Mondays and Tuesdays from 8:15 to 10:45. And then the other cohorts will have Zoom in the afternoons, and then everyone will have asynchronous activities to work on. Wednesday is going to be a fully asynchronous day, so that the district can make sure that their classrooms are all being properly cleaned and sanitized. It'll be a deep cleaning day. And then Thursdays and Fridays, our cohort B kiddos will come, and they'll be here from 8:15 to 10:45. And then my cohort C kids will stay fully distanced, so they won't be coming to the classroom.
Okay. And numbers-wise, Ash, how many do you have in your class right now? If everyone were here, how many would that be?
I have 26 little kiddos in my class.
Okay. Now, do you already know how many will stay with distance learning?
Yes.
Okay.
I have 14 who are going to be staying distance
Okay,
this
so
year.
you'll have 12, and they will be in the 2 cohorts.
Yes.
12 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question, because I can only imagine, the curriculum decisions you have to
Right.
make. And so you will be teaching the online kids the same curriculum that you are doing with the kids in class.
Mm-hmm.
And
I will, yes. I think that I've always been a teacher who, obviously my job is to teach the curriculum, to teach the standards, and that is very, very important. I think on top of teaching standards and curriculum, it's also important to teach social emotional skills, and how do we handle hard feelings, and how are we good friends, and how do we show kindness. And to me, that aspect is just as important as the academics. So my goal moving forward, and my goal has always been to teach the whole child and what's going to be best for the whole child. And so, we now have kiddos who have been separated from friends and haven't been socializing for over a year at school. And so my plan is to kind of just get them used to being back in the classroom and socializing with friends and dealing with these emotions, because, you know, as an adult, we've had to figure out how to productively handle some of the different things we're feeling, and it's even harder for children. And so, you know, my goal is, yes, to teach academics and make sure that, you know, we try and bridge these gaps that COVID has now created, and gaps that were there anyways in education, but also to help these kids like learn how to, you know, socialize with their friends again, and, you know, be in a classroom setting, and what does that look like. So yes, of course, there's going to be a push for the academics, but there's going to be a large push for the social emotional learning as well.
And I've read a lot about the fear some children will have about going back, especially little ones like yours. You know, they haven't even met you in person yet. Right. And so it's going to be almost like the first day of school, that's for sure. So I know you'll be so kind and gentle with those kids. I know you. What were some of the things, and are some of the things, that you still do when you have kids out there distance learning that keeps them engaged all the time? To me, that would be the most difficult part.
Yes. You know, at the beginning of the school year, I think my biggest concern was, and I remember telling my coworkers, like, how are we going to learn their names? You know, like, it's a fear that every teacher has the first like couple days of school, is like, how long is it going to take me to, you know their names and remember their faces? And, you know, just like with any year, that quickly changes, and, you know, you build connections, and their voices are important. And in a regular school year, we come up with class rules together because it's our classroom. And so that's just the same thing we did on Zoom. It's what are some Zoom expectations, and what do you think we should be doing on Zoom, so that they can take ownership for their learning as well. And, you know, building connections, I think, at the beginning of the year and throughout the year is so important. And for them to be proud of themselves and their classmates, and keeping them actively engaged is making it fun. And it's been really hard to try and make it fun on a computer screen, but let me tell you, they've heard me sing, they've seen me dance.
Oh, I'm sure.
They sing and dance. Like, we have different learning songs, and so, you know, I'm just trying to make my job, period, is to instill a love of learning in our kids. And that's my job if we're in the classroom, that's my job if we're on a computer screen. And I think when you bring energy and excitement, they are excited to learn. And so, you know, we'll do attendance wheel prizes where, you know, if everybody stays on Zoom from the beginning of class to the end of class, we get class points, and then with 5 class points, we get a reward. And so we've done virtual field trips as a class, as a reward for everybody staying on. We do participation prize wheels, so if like my friends have their hands up and are participating, they get entered into a drawing, and then the winner gets to spin the wheel. Obviously, it's a virtual wheel, but they get really excited about that. So they've won gift cards to McDonald's and free books and Zooms with me or Zooms with a friend. And so that's been a real blessing, because I think it keeps them engaged and excited too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I know one thing that we talked about when you and we chat a lot on the phone was that your attendance, you know, with 26 in the class, everybody's on Zoom. Not everybody, of course, but I was so very impressed with, you know, the attendance on the Zoom. And I must say, I'm so very impressed with your school. Greer just looks so nice and shiny, and everything is inviting. Your little read libraries and the books out front, and you said there was a food pantry.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It just looks like the place where you want your kid to go to school.
It's a blessing to work here. We have a fantastic admin, we have fantastic staff, we have the best kiddos, and we have amazing parents, and it's just a really great community. And we've worked really hard to build that,
too. Oh, I'm sure you have.
So yeah, I'm very proud to work here, and I'm very excited for kiddos to be back and see our school, because last year we finished construction on our new school, and it'll be exciting to have kids back at school.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
Well, we may think of some other questions, but Ashley, you have been so kind to have us in, and you've explained so many things to us. Boy, I've learned a lot.
Well, I'm so happy. I think that just on a closing note, I think that with COVID, if we've instilled anything in our kids, it's that learning can take place outside of the four walls of a school and a classroom. And to me, that's the best lesson that we can give a child is no matter where you are, you can grow your brain, you can try your best, you can work hard, you can persevere, you can do hard things. You just never give up, and you always try your best, and you just keep moving. And I think if this pandemic has taught us anything in education, it's that we are lifelong learners, whether or not they're the students or the teachers, and that we can learn under any circumstances in any environment. So I think that's a blessing for our kids too, moving forward. And I'm really excited to be back in the classroom with
Well,
them.
thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yes, thank you
It's
so
so much
much.
fun.
Thank you so much.